Hello and welcome to the home office of Custom Handrails. Today we're going to cover a couple topics, and we're going to start with what's hot in the stair building industry today. We have a lot of different materials being used, a lot of new designs, and many of those designs require different procedures and different ways of doing things. We have a lot of steel being done today, steel stringers, mono stringers. We have floating stairs, we have glass, we have cable systems, we have wrought iron, and wrought iron is going to be part of the topic today. A lot of the wrought iron systems have a cap on the top of them, maybe a channel that's a ½ inch by 1¼ inch, which all the scroll work or balusters are attached into. And most of the trends today are to put a wood cap on top of this wrought iron system. Some of these systems are complicated with radiuses and wreath type fittings that need to be made, and it's very complicated to get a piece of rail to sit exactly on something that's already existing. So today we're going to talk about the procedure that I use to cap these wrought iron systems. But before we get started, we have someone in the room I think I need to introduce to you. This piece of wood behind me, I call him Woody. And Woody and I go back 51 years. I was in 11th grade. And yes, I am that old. Trust me. Woody was a piece of firewood in my parents' driveway. And I walked by that pile and I looked at it and I thought, this is a great medium. I like this wood. I want to see if I can put my mark on this. I ran into the garage and got a hammer and chisel and went to work on them. And you see the end result here. And what it is about Woody that I'd like to mention is that each one of us have a God-given talent, and we don't know what it is. Many times we go through life and searching for something that moves us inside, that resonates with that God-given talent that we have. And fortunately, in 11th grade, I found something that when I got started and involved in, I said to myself, you know, this is something that moves me. I like this. I want to learn more about it. I want to pursue it. Little did I know where that journey would lead me and where I've ended up. So this guy is probably 150 years old. He was 100 years old when I picked him up. I counted the rings on his head. That's how I know. And 51 years after I laid my chisel on him, here he is. So I like to keep him around to tell that story. And I hope that you have found your Woody moment where you know that there's something calling you, something that's inside of you that resonates with something that you found or read or learned about or seen. So that's the story of Woody. But that's not the main topic here today. I want to go into my procedure on making the wood cap to fit precisely on top of a wrought iron system. So let's get started. Look at this drawing in plan view, the stairs that we're going to take a look at installing the wood cap on the wrought iron. The wrought iron is already in place. It's been installed. And my job is to get in there with the laser, shoot this handrail, and come up with a design for the handrail that's going to cap right on top of the iron. The rail will get plowed out to fit on top of the iron. So let's take a look at a couple pictures here so you can see it in real time here. It gives you a better idea of what we're dealing with. This is the actual on-site stair with the wrought iron already in place. You can see how that matches our drawing here. That's what we have to cap. Let's take a look at another shot. Here's the radius section of the stair. Because of the pie treads and the shorter run in this section, the pitch was steeper, so it required an over-easing at the top and an up-easing at the bottom. And these were both stretched out probably a good 2 feet just by the metal fabricator. This is the fitting that's going to be at the top of the stair. It will be a tandem type cap on top of that post with miters on both of the corners. Alright, now let's take a look at what the laser chute looks like after we've imported the laser points of the wrought iron into rhinoceros. Before we do, let's take a look at this handrail profile. Talk about that for a minute. This is the handrail we're going to be mounting on this system, and this is the size of our subrail here. I'm going to allow myself a 1/16 inch play on both sides because of the way this metal is installed. There's a lot of wiggling and inconsistencies in the correct flow here, so I need a little bit of room to play. Also in the depth I chose to make quite a bit deeper. It's actually twice as deep as the actual wrought iron that we're capping, and we're going to go into why I had to do that in just a minute. So let's take a look at the what we get from the laser chute. Here's what you get from your laser chute when you import it into rhinoceros. You get a series of dots connected by a straight line. This would be a spot that we shot on the one side of the wrought iron. This would be on the other side, and connected to the next point with a straight line. So this is what you get from the laser chute. It's a little bit daunting to handle at first, but after you work with it a bit, you get used to it. So now we're going to put some skin on the skeleton and develop and replicate the iron that's already there. So let's give that a turn on here, and you can see exactly what we have to mount to. Alright, now I told you that I had to plow the rail deeper. Let's take a closer look at why. Typically when you have a railing with a cap that you want to join handrail to, you'd like to have a straight stub on your connection point, at least an inch long, and in this case we're cut to the bone here. We have the large radius on the cap, and then easing into the exact width of the rail. This is the closest point that we can get to on this cap. Now, why am I saying all that? Let's take a look here. This is where my joint is, right here. And as you can see, there's no straight section of metal here before my joint. So this makes it very difficult. As you can see, I have this rail with the plow mounted directly on top of the metal with no room in there, and you can see coming across flat, which is what the cap is going to be, you can see how high above the metal we are here. So you can kind of get an idea why I had to plow this out deeper. The other problem was a lot of the variation in height that didn't want to work for me. So let's take a look at another spot here. This is at the top. Again, I'd like to have a good straight section of rail coming out from my miter. As you can see, the rail miter's right at this corner here, I'd like to have a little bit of straight coming off of that miter so we can make the joint proper. But in this case, we're already easing over at this point right here, which makes it difficult. So we had to actually raise the rail up a little bit here and then over ease very quickly to get level at the point of the miter, and I think you'll be able to see that. So that's what we had to deal with. Not exactly the way I would like to see it, but that's the metal that I was presented with. The other issue on the depth would be the turn here where it radiuses. There were a lot of inconsistencies in the height to make a fair railing. You can see this sub rail is practically at the bottom of that plow, and that's where it needed to be to make a nice fair handrail through the transition. So let's take a look at some of the photographs of this in the finish mode, because I think we're just about done with rhinoceros here. Alright, here we have some finished installed shots of this handrail before it got stained and finished. Here's that tandem cap with the miters on both ends. You can see on the far side how quickly that drops off, and also the reason why I needed to plow that rail out deeper. Here's a shot of the fully assembled handrail. You might ask, why did you have to assemble it all before you put it on? Well, I'm an old school guy. I like rail bolts, and rail bolts need to be installed from the bottom. They can't be installed from the bottom if you have it on top of the metal. So we put the whole thing together. We dry fit everything, make sure everything's going to work, and then we install the rail bolts and fasten it together, and take the whole unit as a whole in and drop it down on the steel. Okay, before I let you go, I'd like to show you another job we did in a similar fashion, and we're going to take you there now and show you some photographs. We basically used the same procedure on this job. This is a stacked elliptical stair, basically done the same way as the one we just looked at. It's ready right now for laser shoot and import into Rhino and start modeling. Take out any of the kinks and problem areas, and make sure you got a nice matchup and a fair rail. Alright, handrails installed. Everything looks good. Screwing it in from the bottom, it looks like it's a wrap. You know what time it is now. Time to say goodbye. See you, Woody.